Ladies and gentlemen, on today's episode, backed by popular demand, we have our 7th year in a row of our New Year's resolutions episode. So this is an episode where we will recap the past 6 years of resolutions and give you 5 brand new ones for 2026 to hopefully help set you off on the right foot as we head into the new year and give you all some great goals to strive for. All that and more in this episode of Tackle Talk.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tackle Talk podcast. Before we get started here today, I hope you all had a wonderful, safe, healthy, memorable Christmas with your family and your friends out there. So we get so caught up, I think, sometimes in our day-to-day life and the stress of work and everything that we've got going on. And I hope that you guys at least got to set aside some time to spend with the most important people in your life and celebrate and laugh and pray and reminisce and whatever the holidays mean for you. I know that the holidays can be a mix of emotions for some people. Some people have new little ones joining the family for the first time this year. Others, this is the first Christmas without somebody important in our family. But regardless of what this past year brought, I think it's important to have that sort of mental reset with your family and your friends as you finish out 2025 and head into 2026. So I hope you all were able to do just that over the past week. Now, that leads us into our episode today, which is, if I have counted right, I believe the 7th year in a row that we will be doing our annual New Year's resolution episode. And I've talked about this before, so I won't beat this dead horse too much, but this is important to me because I feel like a lot of times as anglers, we set goals that are kind of out of our control, right? That are left a little bit to chance and to luck. And I don't think that's what a resolution should be. I don't think a resolution should be, well, I hope to catch my PB this year. That's great, but that is something that there are a lot of outside forces that determine whether or not that will happen. That is not something that you have the ability to fully control. And I like my resolutions to be something that I can control. And the resolution itself, if it is something that is, quote unquote, out of your control, the resolution itself is to just try to do the thing, not to actually, succeed and end up with, oh, I want to catch a 10-pound bass this year. Well, that's great. But what that comes down to in the end is, okay, you probably need to fish more. You need to fish in different places. You need to travel. All of those in and of themselves are New Year's resolutions. I want to go out of state. I want to go fish in Texas. I want to, spend twice as much time on the water. I want to use bigger baits to target bigger fish. All of those individually are great resolutions, but when you culminate it to just this sort of abstract of, oh, I want to catch an 8-pound smallmouth bass. Oh, I want to catch my first muskie. Those aren't resolutions that I like to set. I would rather say, hey, I want to target my first muskie this year. I want to go out and start muskie fishing seriously. I want to target bigger fish this year. I want to learn to throw glide baits better or swim baits better or Alabama rigs better or something that will target bigger fish better. Those are all things that make sense to me. So again, I won't drown too much on this, but yes, in a perfect world, I think we would all like to say, hey, I'd like to catch more fish this year. I'd like to break my PB. I'd like to do all these things. We are really focused on realistic goals that you can set for yourself and you can achieve. It's kind of like when everybody at the beginning of the year sets their fitness goals. I think your fitness goals should be something like, hey, I want to go to the gym 3 times a week. Hey, I want to, cut my calorie intake by 15%. Well, okay, those are things that are within your control. You can do that. I want to take that same approach to the fishing world. So what I will do really fast, I know that you guys have heard these before if you have listened to this resolution episode every single year, but we always like to start with recapping the past year's New Year's resolutions because there are a lot of folks probably listening to this that might not have been here for all 6 previous years or, may just be getting started with Tackle Talk. You can take anything on this list and make your resolutions for 2026. None of these are date specific, which means I've got 5 resolutions from 2020, 5 from 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So you've got 30 old resolutions that you can start to choose from for next year before we even get to our 5 for 2026. So at the end of this episode, you will have 35 resolutions to choose from. I like to pick 5 to do for every single year. I think that is enough where there's some variety, but it's not too much to where you're overwhelmed and you can't achieve them. So really fast, let's go through the past year's New Year's resolutions leading up to this year and our 5 new ones. So this started at the very end of 2019, heading into 2020, and our resolutions that year were learn to love a new lure or technique. That basically meant find a lure that you know catches fish, that's popular, that you see people catching fish on, but you just don't have that, love or affinity or confidence in, and make an effort this year to fish it enough to where you do have confidence and you do love that lure. I've done that over the past years with a bunch of different things. I've talked about this before, but I had to do this with a chatterbait a long time ago. I did this with a scrounger head. I did this with a wacky rig. I did this with all of these baits that, yes, I knew were super popular, but were not in my repertoire as much as they should be, and I learned to love them. Number 2 for heading into 2020 was fish a very pressured body of water once a month. And what we did there is pick like a really pressured pond or something around you and just make sure to fish it once a month over that 12-month span, because you're going to see every season, you're going to see every weather, every sort of pattern those fish could go through. And if you get good at fishing a really pressured pond, then everything else can kind of seem easy by comparison. We've made the analogy before that it's kind of like resistance training, right? If you can do well at that really pressured, crappy pond, well, then when you do go to a good fishery, you've been kind of trained by fire here. So that was something that helped me a long time ago. There was a very pressured pond here in Dayton that I made sure to fish at least once a month, and I think it did help me grow as an angler. Number 3 for 2020 was fish with 5 new anglers. This was pretty simple. Make new friends around you that you can fish with, or that when you see them out fishing, you have buddies out there. You have friends. You're all one big community. It's not angler against angler. It's not any sort of like animosity out there. You don't get so protective. You don't get in a bad mood when you see someone else in like an area that you wanted to fish, if they're your buddy, if they're your friend. So a lot of times, at least around here, it's a pretty small core community, I would say, of anglers that you're going to see out there in any given weather, any given time. The real diehards, there's a pretty small, tight-knit group of us around here, and I think it just has made my angling around here a lot more enjoyable, knowing the people I see out and having more people to share fishing with and to talk to about it and bounce ideas off of it and just make more friends. Number 4 for 2020 was target a new species. I don't think I have to explain that. There are so many things that are so rewarding and you can learn by targeting a new species. And number 5 in 2020 was schedule one out-of-state fishing trip. That place that you've had on your bucket list forever. We're not getting any younger. Nothing is going to get any easier than it is probably right now, unless you're listening to this and you're super young and you can't like go out on your own. But I would say like those of us that are adults, schedule the fishing trip. And if you are too young to do it by yourself, see if someone will take you or someone will go with you. Cross those places that you've always wanted to go off your bucket list, and you do that one at a time. So this was not, go out and try and catch a fish in every single state or something ridiculous. It's go out and schedule one out-of-state fishing trip. That could be an hour away. Cross the state line. For me, that could be going to Kentucky or Indiana or Illinois or Pennsylvania. It doesn't have to be across the country. It could just be an hour or 2 drive, depending on where you live. But schedule one out-of-state fishing trip. Okay, then the next year in 2021, our resolutions were try a new style of fishing, whether that be ice fishing, it could be fly fishing, kayak fishing, wading. Just step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Number 2 was fish small water. Do not discount those small creeks and those little bodies of water that you pass all the time, probably on your way to work, on the way to the store, that just looks like a glorified drainage ditch. If it is, shin deep or deeper, chances are there's probably fish in there somewhere, or it leads you to a place where there are fish. So do not discount small water. Get in, start walking, start wading, take one rod, one reel, one backpack with you and get out there and really try and target those small water fish. You can have a blast doing that. Number 3 that year was leave your big Facebook groups. I really think a lot of those big fishing Facebook groups are just a cancer to you. They are either glorified spot burning groups, or they are groups where, someone's just basically bragging with the fish they caught, or guess the weight, or people arguing about things. It's just not beneficial to most people. So I got a lot happier when I actually left a lot of those big fishing Facebook groups, and I don't have to see that stuff anymore. So that was something that was a little bit personal to me, but I think it probably helps a lot of you too. Get out of those groups. They're not really helping you at all. Go out and seek real information from great sources, whether that be magazines, whether that be your favorite YouTubers, or maybe podcasts, selfishly, something like that. Go out and try and focus your attention on places that will hopefully make you a better angler, not those just toxic fishing Facebook groups that we all belong to. And then number 5 that year was Go Fishing Unplugged. Make an effort to go out once or twice a year. Do not bring the camera. Don't bring the GoPro. Don't film it. You don't need to take pictures all the time. Just go out there and enjoy nature. And I get guilty of this a lot of times where I really like to take great photos of my fish. I like the kind of photography aspect of fishing. And sometimes I think that gets in the way for me. I waste time that day, setting up the camera or, dealing with lighting or whatever. And I get really discouraged when I don't get the picture that I want of this certain situation or fish that's not cooperating or whatever it is. Just don't worry about that, right? Go out a couple times a year and just say, hey, I'm going out for the love of the game. I'm not going out for clout. I'm not going out to video anything. Just go enjoy fishing. Do not fire up the email. Don't check anything. Obviously, you can take your cell phone in case you get in trouble or you need help or something, but don't be on it. Don't be taking pictures and posting to Instagram or whatever. Just go out and enjoy fishing unplugged. The next year, for 2023, our third year, was number 1, catch a fish on a homemade lure. It's just so rewarding to catch a fish on something that you actually made yourself. Number 2 was find a new fishing show. So if you are listening to this here on Tackle Talk, that means not Tackle Talk. That means find something else to really enjoy as well. There are so many great resources out there, so many great shows. If you just want to talk about the podcast world, there's Mercer, there's Serious Angler, there's Bass After Dark, there's the new guys that are doing the Science of the Strike. A lot of the YouTube guys put their stuff on podcast platforms. Bass Talk Live, obviously. I don't even like mentioning them because I know there will be people that I forget, but those type of shows, right? There's a lot of them out there. Go out and seek out information from as many sources as possible. I do appreciate you listening to Tackle Talk. I really do. But in the interest of trying to make you a better angler, I would love for you not just to listen to Tackle Talk. I would love for you to widen that repertoire and that kind of siphon of information that you're getting. It shouldn't just be coming from one resource. That doesn't give you a well-rounded view of different opinions and different viewpoints. And, the way that I like to do something might not be the way that any of those other shows like to do something. My thoughts on a certain rod or reel or line or baits or whatever could be totally different than somebody else's. And if I don't like it, but someone else does, then listen to the people that like it too, because they might encourage you to give that lure a try, even though I don't like it, and you end up doing really well on it. There's a snowball or a butterfly or whatever you call it type of effect to a lot of this stuff. So don't just trust one person. Go out and find a new fishing show to listen to. Number 3 that year was quit a habit that will let you fish more. So there's a couple ways you can go with that. I think the easy one to think about is movies or video games or something that are just time sucks and they don't really make you a better person. They don't make you more educated. They don't help you be a better angler or anything like that. They're just things that waste time. So maybe cut some of that out. Don't play Call of Duty 12 hours a day. Maybe play it 2 hours a day, and then you just freed up 10 hours to go fishing or do whatever you want to do or go to the gym or be a more healthy individual. There's the other part of that too, which is maybe you could just cut out a habit that is not healthy for you that will let you be in better shape to go out and fish more. So there's all kinds of ways you can take that, but quit a habit that will let you fish more. Number 4 that year was fish a new style of tournament. So that could be an in-person tournament, a Tuesday nighter, that could be an online tournament. There's all kinds of really cool ways to be competitive in fishing now, and it does not have to be, I have an $80,000 boat and I can afford really crazy entry fees. It could be a local club. It could be you and 20 friends putting together a tournament to fish. It could be you fishing a charity tournament. There's all kinds of cool ways that you can kind of get that competitive itch out and maybe try a new style of tournament. And then number 5 that year was keep track of your trophies better. And I don't mean actual physical trophies that you win. I mean like your trophy fish. So for me, that is great photography, but it's also keeping the lure that I catch my personal bests on for every species. So I have every lure of every PB that I've ever caught, from largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, pike, muskie, trout, all kinds of stuff. If I break a PB, I cut that bait off and I keep it. And it's just kind of a fun thing for me to have, is like these physical mementos from every single fish that I've caught, because it's a way to feel connected back to that catch without having to, kill that fish, get a skin mount, or fork over the money for a replica mount or something. Just kind of a fun way to say, hey, here's a picture of this fish and here's the actual physical lure that I caught it on, is kind of fun for me. So that was number 5 that year. And then we moved into our 4th year of doing this episode, and our first resolution was fish more local baits. So around here in Ohio, there are a ton of great local bait makers that I love using all the time. Like a big one that jumps out, obviously, is Big Joshy. Big Joshy swim baits are my absolute go-to paddle tail swim baits, and they're made right here in Central Ohio by a great family-owned company. If I only fished big bait companies, I would have never got the chance to try those and caught so many fish that I've caught on those specific boot tail minnows. Wherever you are, I guarantee there are awesome local bait makers that you should be checking out. Number 2 that year was take better pictures of your fish. And what I basically mean there is, do not make the picture an afterthought where all you have of these fish are these iPhone selfies, because there will come a day where you wish that every one of your great memories of fishing was not some iPhone selfie, held out in portrait mode. You're going to wish you had actual pictures of those fish, high quality, high definition pictures that will last and stand the test of time. So for me, that means I actually take with me a physical camera, a DSLR camera. I've had it for a long time. I love it. Is it the best camera? No, but it kicks the snot out of an iPhone photo, like no questions asked. And you can be bad with a camera and still take better pictures than you can with your iPhone. I know iPhones have gotten great nowadays, but there's a difference in the way that a photo looks that was taken by a real DSLR or mirrorless camera versus something that was taken on an iPhone. If it was taken on an iPhone, it just seems to lack depth, and it lacks that ability to naturally rack focus where it blurs out the background a little bit and the fish is in focus in the foreground. Yes, you can do portrait mode. Portrait mode is a very kind of digitized fake version of that, and you can clearly tell when something is in portrait mode and when it's not. I like the more standard kind of artistic pictures to fish. So I like having a picture that will last forever and do that fish justice, because we spend hours and hours, days and days, even weeks and years chasing these fish. And it just seems silly to me that when you finally do catch that fish that you've been chasing, all you get out of it is some kind of semi-blurry iPhone photo. That doesn't seem to do justice to the fish that I just caught. So my resolution there, number 2 that year, was take better pictures. Number 3 in 23 was recycle your old fishing gear. That can mean donating it. That can mean physically recycling it. Just clean out all of that gear that you have in your garage or in your basement or wherever it is and do something good with it. Number 4 that year was treat yourself to one high-end piece of gear. Now, that could be a $25 jerkbait. That could be a $800 rod, right? I don't know what your budget is. I don't know what you consider high end and what you currently use now, but I think we all work really hard. If you have a job that you are just busting your tail at, you deserve to treat yourself every once in a while within reason. And to me, that was find one piece of gear that you've always wanted, but you just won't pull the trigger on, and finally pulled the trigger on it. Because if it's just one, the damage is going to be limited to your wallet a little bit and to your budget. Now, if you go overboard, that's where people get in trouble. But if you save up responsibly and you buy that one thing that you've always thought, what, I would love to have that certain thing. And it could be, hey, I have never splurged for a Megabass 110. I'd love to try a Megabass 110. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing could be, hey, I've wanted a boat forever, and you buy a boat. There is a lot of distance in between what this piece of high-end gear could be for everybody, but treat yourself. You work hard, you deserve it. get you one high-end piece of gear that you've had your eye on. And then number 5 that year was to help anglers the way that somebody likely helped you. And I called this at the time sending the elevator back down. If you are lucky enough to reach the top floor, the least you can do is send the elevator back down for those that are still waiting on the bottom floor trying to get to where you are. So that means like taking the time and doing youth workshops. That could be, seeing someone out fishing and they're struggling and walking over and just helping them, talking to them about what works, what they can improve. It could be something as personal as that. Now, for me, I think I try to do that a little bit with this show in like a big picture way. I love sharing things that I've learned and things that help me catch more fish on this show, and hopefully that's helped a lot of you do the same. But I've also tried in the past couple of years to like volunteer for more youth derbies and things that, the Parks and Rec departments put on, and Jackson's Charity Fishing Derby that I love doing. Like all of those type of things I think are really rewarding, and it's fun to help people in person catch more fish and try and share some of that knowledge that you've been lucky enough to learn over the years. So then in 2024, our resolutions were to get involved with a local fishing charity. That kind of piggybacks off of what we just talked about. Number 2 that year was clean up your favorite fishing spot once a month. Self-explanatory. Everything is getting dirtier nowadays. People are less respectful. Do our part, clean up those spots that you enjoy fishing to make sure that it stays great for the future. Number 3 was fish your weakness for a full day. So if you are not good with a jig, go out one day and only bring a jig with you. Don't bring anything else. Don't give yourself the out to be able to kind of wuss out and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I've fished this for like 30 minutes. It's not going well. I'm going to go back to the things that I have confidence in. Go out there and make yourself fish your weakness. So for me, ironically, that might be like a drop shot, or, a straight tail minnow, or something that I just don't have a lot of confidence in. Go out there and fish that for an entire day and see if you can put something together and if you can really develop an appreciation for that specific lure that you have so much trouble with. Number 4 in 2024 was make time to fish with the right people. It's another sappy one here, but it's important, and I think it's something that we lose sight of sometimes. It's not always about the fish. It's not always about the success of the fishing trip as much as it can be about who you go fishing with. Because a lot of my favorite memories and my funniest and happiest days on the water have been because I've been with somebody that I enjoy fishing with. That could be my buddies, Ryan, Jeff. It could be my dad. It could be, anybody like that just made that day way more fun and way more special. Make an effort to do more of that. And then number 5 that year was leave genuine positive feedback for your favorite bait makers, because that will mean so much to them. A lot of those bait makers only get hit up or only get complimented when people want something for free, or they want them to, quote unquote, sponsor them or whatever it is. They get hounded with that kind of stuff. And it's nice to break that up with some actual genuine great feedback from people that just appreciate using their baits. It will mean a ton to them. Yes, you can leave great feedback for like Strike King or Rapala or whatever. That's great, but that doesn't mean as much as leaving great feedback for like the guy that is grinding it out in his basement, in his shed, in his garage, making those great local baits. So leave great feedback for those folks that you do appreciate. And then that brings us to last year, 2025, where our resolutions were organize your tackle better than you currently do. And I always get asked like, hey, did you complete your resolutions for last year? So I will go through these last 5 and I will tell you whether honestly I did them or not. Did I become better organized with my gear last year? Yeah, I think I did. I bought a black pack. I still don't think I'm super organized, but I've gotten better to where at least I have like a coherent system for where things are in my tackle trays. Now, after a day on the water, do they just end up in a giant pile? And, it might be an embarrassingly long time before I reorganize them. Yes, but at least I have the bones of organization to me where I did not have that before. I had a dry bag that I basically just threw everything in. And then on my kayak, I just had like a permanent pile of baits that were in my hatch. And that was just like my quote unquote organization. Now, at least I'm somewhat organized. If I was 10% organized before 2025, I'm probably I don't know, 50% organized now. So I'm definitely making progress. And if you pay attention to the wording there, it says organize your tackle better than you currently do. It doesn't have to be perfect, but is it better? Yes, I would say I accomplished that. I am better than I was before 2025. Now, number 2 last year was cross a body of water off your in-state bucket list. Now, did I do that? I'm going to say yes, because I wanted to fish Lake Erie, and I did fish Lake Erie in the kayaks, but I did technically cross state lines to do it. So we did it out of Pennsylvania, but I'm still going to count this because I wanted to fish Erie in general. That was my big one on my in-state bucket list. Even though, yes, we launched out of Pennsylvania, I'm still going to say that that one gets checked off as well. Number 3 last year was make a kid's day with the gift of fishing gear. Did I do that? I didn't do it as much or as prominently as I would have liked to do, but we still had probably 3 or 4 situations throughout the year where I donated some of my old gear. We rounded up new gear to donate at some of the charity events and things that we do around the area. I would like to do a lot more of the individual stuff, like walk up and, surprise somebody with a tackle box full of stuff that you see just out fishing and a little bit more spontaneous. I would love to do more of that. That might be something I try and do this year. But yeah, I think number 3, make a kid's day with the gift of fishing gear. I think we did that last year as well. Number 4 was take more micro trips for fishing. Not micro fishing in terms of like, where you see people with the microscopic hooks and they're fishing for, half-inch long fish. Not micro fishing, but micro trips for fishing. So that means like, you might not be able to dedicate a whole day a lot of times to go fishing, but you might be able to take a rod with you and stop at that pond or that creek on your way to the grocery store or on your way home from work or things like that, right? I call those micro trips. Those are trips that are not planned and they don't eat up 12 hours, but you can still go out, you can make some casts, you can catch some fish, and you can kind of sneak fishing into your daily life. Yes, I definitely did that. I've gotten better and better about that as my schedule gets more and more hectic. And then number 5 last year was attend the Bassmaster Classic. As I have had the chance to do that a couple years, I think that is almost like the fishing pilgrimage that a lot of people make a year. It's just such an awesome event around so many like-minded people that love bass fishing that I don't ever want to miss it again. Did I attend the Bassmaster Classic last year? Yes, I did. In fact, I got lucky enough to be able to work the Bassmaster Classic and be able to do some broadcasting and some work for Bassmaster. So that was a whole different side of the bucket list, I guess. But yes, I did attend the Bassmaster Classic. I will attend it this year. I do not plan on really missing it hopefully ever again. I really enjoy that couple days as just a chance to see people from all over the country, be a part of the biggest spectacle in fishing, and just kind of see the whole fishing world converge on one city for a couple days. Whew. Okay, that brings us to 2026. So before we get into this, that is 30 old New Year's resolutions from the past 6 years that you can pick from. And now we embark on our 7th straight year of this episode. And I've got 5 fresh New Year's resolutions for you to add to that list. So our very first New Year's resolution for 2026 is to go fishing with something sentimental. This one hit me about 2 months ago because we were in the middle of moving houses and I had packed everything up. And as I was unpacking at our new house, I came across some really old fishing gear, a lot of which belonged to my grandpa that he probably used, 30 or 40 years ago at this point. And there were a couple rods and there were a couple reels in there. But what really piqued my interest were the baits that I found. And I probably found, a dozen or so old wooden baits, like some top waters, some crankbaits. And my first instinct was to just display them in my little bedroom studio that I'm recording from now. And I did that. Obviously, they're on the shelf right there. I wanted to make sure that I had those here in the studio because I think they're a cool memento. But as I looked at some of those baits, I sort of smiled as I was putting them up on the shelf. And I said, you know what? I bet I could still catch fish on this. And that's when it hit me. Why not set aside a few of those baits and actually go fishing with them with the intention of catching fish on those old baits that were my grandpa's? I'll pick the right time of year, the right body of water that I think best suits those baits. And then I'm going to go out and actually fish them hard. Because what better way to honor my grandpa and to remember and feel that sort of connection with someone and something as sentimental as a bait than to go out there probably 30 or 40 years after the last time that bait saw a fish and catch a fish on them in 2026. Because be honest, the reason that we keep stuff, that we keep mementos and trinkets and memorabilia and things from the past is to feel connected with the past or to relive those memories or remember that person. And what better way to remember them than to catch a bass on that bait? I really think I would cherish a photo of me holding a bass with my grandpa's lure in its mouth more than the lure itself, because it becomes a true full circle moment and memory at that point. It's not just something sitting on a shelf. And then after I catch fish on it, then I can return it back to the shelf, and that lure will mean 100 times more to me than it did before. A bait that I and my grandpa both caught fish on 3 or 4 decades apart probably, that is super cool to me, and I'm really excited to do that this year. So that's a personal one for me, but I'm sure there are people out there that can relate to that, or maybe it's not a bait. Maybe it's a reel or a rod or a boat or something fishing related that's not a bait at all, that's been, handed down or left to you from generations. That could be your great grandpa's pocket knife. Use that for a day and go out there and just cut your tag ends of your line and feel that connection with that knife. This can be a whole lot of different things. Or you can just do this with vintage lures in general that aren't family related or friend related. Just go on eBay or wherever and find some really fun vintage baits, or go to a swap meet or Facebook Marketplace and go out and catch fish on those. But for me personally, I like the sort of sentimental version of this. So I'm going to go out and try and catch fish on my grandpa's old baits. So that's New Year's resolution number 1 for 2026. Go fishing with something sentimental. All right, number 2 for this year in 26 is to create a local slam to try and complete yourself. So some of you may know what this is, some of you may not, but a slam is sort of like a checklist of things that you try to accomplish in a particular period of time, and usually it's within a day. So for instance, in the saltwater world, I think there's something called the saltwater slam or the inshore slam. I'm not sure the actual real name of it, but you try and catch a snook, a redfish, and a speckled trout all in the same day. And that's called like I said, I think it's the saltwater slam. It's a really popular thing down there from what I understand. I would like to do something like that, but for freshwater here in Ohio, and you can make up your own for wherever you live. So I think it would be really fun to try and catch a largemouth, a smallmouth, and a spotted bass all in the same day. And some of you might say, hey, that doesn't sound too hard, right? But for me, where I'm at, that's likely 3 different fisheries, and one of them is probably pretty far away if I want to have a real chance at one of them. So smallmouth is easy. I got that taken care of. Largemouth is probably really easy too. I just have to switch bodies of water because my smallmouth is probably going to come from a river or a creek. My largemouth is going to come from a pond or a lake around here. They are in the river, but it's very hard to specifically target them. There's very few places in the river that are like predominantly largemouth. It's kind of hard to find. So I would probably move bodies of water to go to a lake or to a pond. And then the third one is the wild card, because there are only very, very specific sections of the creeks and rivers around here that you even have a realistic chance at catching a spotted bass at. And they're very rare at that. So that would probably mean me having to drive down to the Ohio River or one of its tributaries to have a real chance at like a quick spotted bass. So yes, there are some here in our lakes and our rivers and things like that, but they're very few and far between. So I think I would probably have to make a pretty big move to go try and catch a spot in a day. So that's one that I really like to do. Another one that I think would be really fun is to try and catch one fish out of a creek, out of a lake, out of a pond, and out of a river all in the same day. I think that would be a blast. But if you want like a more challenging one maybe, and you are like a crappie guy, for instance, maybe you say, hey, I want to catch a black crappie, a white crappie, and a magnolia crappie all in one day. That could be a little tough with like the magnolia, depending on where you're at. So there's all kinds of ways you can sort of morph this. But number 2 for this year is to create a local slam and to try and complete it. Okay, that brings us to number 3 for 2026, and that's going to be to go to a new fishing expo or a new fishing show. Now, we've had this in the past where you can just go to a fishing expo, and that was a great resolution back in the day. But by now, I think a lot of you have probably done that. You've probably gone to some sort of local expo or some sort of local fishing expo of some kind. Well, now the resolution is going to be to attend a new one, because I'm very guilty of this. Over the past couple of years, I've went to the same 3 shows and expos every single year. I go to the Columbus Fishing Expo, I go to the Bassmaster Classic, and I go to ICAST. And that's my trio. And I've fallen into this sort of rut where those are the only 3 that I go to. One is a great local public expo, one is a great national public expo, and the other one is a national private fishing show. But I realized that I'm probably missing out on a lot of great local tackle because I'm not hitting a lot of these other regional or local shows. So this year, the one that I want to cross off my list is the East Tennessee Fishing Show in Knoxville, because I've heard amazing things about it from anybody that's ever gone. I've heard the vendor list is always incredible. They have big companies, small companies, any sort of tackle you could want. You have great bait makers there. I know Battle Baits usually attends, Clutch, Buka, Fish Everything. A lot of these people drop new baits at this show every year, so I'm excited to step out of my comfort zone a little bit and check that one out. Now, I will still 100% be at the Columbus Fishing Expo because that is my favorite local expo. I love it. I will not miss it. I will be there all 3 days with a booth and doing seminars and hanging out with all of you. It is probably my favorite weekend of the year because it's the only time that I really get to like be somewhere and hang out with you all and talk fishing, meet you guys in person. We're not just, like talking over the internet, or you're not just listening to the show every week. We actually get to hang out. And that's what I'm there for all 3 days, is basically to hang out with everybody. And that's so much fun. I have had an absolute ball the past probably 4 or 5 years getting to meet all of you at that show, and I look forward to seeing you guys every single year. But I want to step out as a consumer and attend some more fishing shows. So the East Tennessee show is on my list this year, but you could have a totally different one around you. Maybe it just means you drive a couple hours and you try something brand new. It's going to take me probably 4.5 hours to get to the Tennessee show. You probably have another show that you have not been to at all in your life within 4 or 5 hours of you at some point during the year. So that's resolution number 3. Now let's move to number 4, which is going to be master one new skill associated with a certain bait or technique. So this isn't like we've done in the past where it's to learn to love a new lure or a specific technique or anything like that. This is a skill associated with a bait or a technique. So I'll give you my example and then we'll hit some other options here. My example, I want to get better at skipping. I can skip, but I'm not great at it. I would say if I'm skipping a dock with casting gear and I make 10 skips to that dock, I would say 5 of those 10 are probably, quote unquote, pretty good. They're not great, they're not perfect, but they'll get the job done. And then I would say 4 of those 10 are okay, but they're nowhere near where I actually wanted to end up. And then one of them will probably make me stop, pull some line out because I almost got backlash there. I don't usually blow up my reel skipping, but I'm definitely not great at it, and I would like to get better. I would say I'm serviceable at best. So I want to master skipping. And I would say, like, at the end of this year, if I can make those same 10 casts and 9 or 10 of them are within margin of error of where I wanted to be, I think that's a reasonable goal for me, and that's where I want to end up by this time next year. Now, for you, that might not be skipping. That might be mastering the hook set on a frog and learning to wait and learning the right and wrong time to set that hook, because that matters a lot. Maybe it's mastering walking a spook to perfection, or maybe it's way different. Maybe it's like learning to tie a drop shot knot on your hook. That's a unique one that takes some time to learn when you first start doing it. Maybe you want to say by the end of 2026, I want to be able to tie a full drop shot in under 30 seconds. That is a skill, and that is something that you can put your mind to and you can do. So this is a wide open one for sure, but mine is skipping. Yours can be whatever skill you want to get better at in 26. And then that finally brings us to number 5 here for this year, which is going to be to not make one single negative comment toward a single person online in 2026. Now, I can hear some of you now, right? No, it's free speech, right? They put that photo or that video or that post online, and I have every right to criticize it or express my negative feelings if I want to. And you are correct, right? You have every right to do that. But the question is, do you need to do that? What does it achieve? I mean, is it worth it to have a couple, faceless internet profiles, click the like button, and then you get that 0.5 second hit of dopamine? Is that worth tearing down somebody else or making someone else feel bad or self-conscious or doubt themselves for whatever they tried to create and post? I don't think so. Right? So I've always been in the camp of if I like something online, I will comment or like or engage with it. And if I don't, then I just move on. Now, I did say a single person because what I'm not going to do is suggest that you can't leave, negative feedback or constructive criticism for a larger entity like a company, a league, whatever it is, because then you get into this weird territory where you can't express, what you like and don't like about a product or something like that. I'm not going that far. But the sentiment that I wanted behind this resolution was like for all of us to do our part in stopping the personal negativity that's out there, like from person to person, from angler to angler. That type of stuff is getting old. So I think if somebody is videotaping themselves fishing or posting pictures of their fish or trying to create something for others to watch for free, by the way, then there's no need to be mean or to be negative to them. I mean, I felt this way for a long time about YouTubers, because if somebody is taking the time to plan, to video, to edit, and release fishing videos for you to watch for free with zero obligation, then why in the world would you feel the need to leave mean or negative feedback or comments on that person's stuff? If you like it, let them know. That's great. But if you don't, then it's obviously not for you and you can just move on with your day. I mean, when I started Tackle Talk, I saw this firsthand too, and this is probably where I get some of the empathy for these folks. Now, luckily, we have built a community here that is really, really, really positive, and they're interested in the true fishing side of things and less about the clickbait drama and the stuff that draws all that negativity. But still, every once in a while, I will scroll through the reviews or the comments of a show or something, and someone will just be outright negative or mean about it. And I sit there and I think, man, I spent 3 hours prepping this show, an hour and a half recording it, 3 hours editing it, 2 hours of random miscellaneous stuff. I've probably got 10 plus hours a week, a lot of which are at like midnight or 1 a.m. after working a 14-hour day at my normal job to put out this free show for people to listen to and to enjoy, hopefully, just to have some random person leave mean feedback about it. And like I said, I only get 0.0000001% of all of that stuff, and it still bugs me. Like I could get 100 emails or DMs or reviews or whatever that are all positive, glowing, awesome people that I appreciate so much. But then you just get that one person that leaves that negative comment or that negative review or whatever, and that one just eats at me. And I can't imagine what it's like for all these other people who live in the YouTube and the social media world versus like a podcast where we get way less comments and virality of things. It's just more you listen and move on. There's not a ton of interaction the way there is with Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, where they have to deal with these comments all day long. Luckily, we don't have to deal with them too much, but I've learned it firsthand. And I think that we should all just be nicer to individual people that are trying to put out something for you to enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, then just move on. You don't have to tear down what that person is trying to build. Now, again, that goes for people, not products. That's a totally different realm, because that is negative feedback directed at a product, not a person. There's a big difference there. And I think the fishing world would be a lot more fun to be a part of if we all just did our part to not feed into all of that. Now, I know that 99.999% of people that do leave all that nasty stuff don't really listen to Tackle Talk, so it's probably a moot point, but I still think it's a good goal for all of us this year. Don't leave negative feedback on an individual's content. It's just not necessary, and it does nobody any good. Best case scenario for you is you get a couple meaningless likes from some online trolls, I guess. And worst case scenario, you actually hurt somebody's feelings or you discourage a fellow angler. If someone is doing something that you don't like, the most effective way to get them to stop is to stop watching and stop engaging with it, not to be nasty to them. So there's our 5 New Year's resolutions for 2026. Number 1, go fishing with something sentimental. Number 2, create a local slam to try and complete. Number 3, go to a new fishing expo or a new fishing show. Number 4, master a new fishing skill specific to a technique or lure. And number 5, try not to leave one negative piece of feedback on an individual's content in 2026. So there you go. There is our 5 brand new resolutions to pair with the 30 previous New Year's resolutions from 2019 through 2025 to give you a pretty robust list to choose from of 35 resolutions to make your own goals for 2026. But as always, regardless of which resolutions you choose, the new year is a fun time to kind of reassess the successes and the failures of this last calendar year and then improve upon them for next year. So it's just a quick PSA here to not only look forward right now, as we did for most of this episode, but also look back. Did you accomplish your 2025 resolutions? If so, great. What can we learn from those? And if you didn't, well, why not, right? What stopped you? And now, are you better equipped, whether that be time-wise, financially, a better angler to be able to achieve those this year? Well, then great. Maybe you add them back for 2026 and try them again. Introspection is always a good thing. And sometimes I wish that we didn't have to wait till kind of like a silly turn of the calendar page to do it. But we're humans. This is how we visualize things. And a lot of our goals are by the year. So let's make 2026 a great one. Pick your favorite 5 and join me as we try to use the new year as a way to reinvigorate ourselves and be better anglers and better humans in 2026. And with that, I hope you all have a fun, safe New Year's. Take time to reflect. Set some achievable goals, and we'll see you right back here next Tuesday for a brand new episode and a brand new year of the Tackle Talk podcast.